Hello there. I'm just looking through the series of the email exchanges between Jairam, Susie Holt, Gibbs, and Breary here. You know, the four that have been released. And just following on from what I was saying the other day, maybe I don't need to repeat this, but it's obvious that to me, it's obvious that it's all from notes. And he's actually saying it, Jairam, when he's talking about page 6 in respect of baby number 3. He says, it's unclear if present at moment of collapse, i.e. Lucy Letby, if it was present at the moment of collapse from notes. Everything he's doing here in these emails is related to notes. So the line about staff nurse Letby at incubator and called Dr. Jairam to inform of low saturations was in the notes. Now those notes in relation to baby K, what becomes baby K, they're not calling it, that's another thing in these emails. The letters and the numbers aren't the final letters and numbers that are used for those babies on the indictment, I don't believe. And another element of that is that some of these being referred to, some of these babies, well, I'm not sure, do we know whether all of them ended up on the indictment at all? And if not, why not? In other words, the suspicions about these, what was it that took the suspicion away later down the line? What was the means? What was the mechanism for that? But yeah, it's just obvious to me that I think it's pretty obvious that staff nurse Letby at incubator and called Dr. Jairam to inform low saturations is absolutely in the medical notes. Now, that medical note would have been part of a bundle of notes that the defence would have seen, that the police would have seen, that Evans would have seen. But it's been excised, hasn't it? By the time it gets to at whatever stage, whether it's at the we had that chain of custody of this idea in the hospital. They photocopied the medical notes and then sent them by courier in physical form to the police. And then the police scanned them onto an electronic system and then send them electronically to Evans. Because Evans says I had to print them off again. And in Hummingbird, the police say, they're talking about physical notes, sort of like the idea they've all been thrown up in the air when they received them by courier. At what stage was that particular note in respect of baby K, in respect to that particular line? When was that excised? When was it edited? When was it taken out, that line? Because it had to have been taken out. Please, it can't be. For the love of God, it cannot be that that line was in there all through the notes that everybody's seen and nobody saw it. It can't be, can it? So somebody's deliberately removed that note that Jairam is copying, basically. He's doing it with all the other ones in these emails. This is a year and more later, sometimes up to a year and a half later. He's talking about the very early crashes and deaths. So he's talking about getting on for 2 years later. He hasn't got it all in his head. It's all from notes. And it's this, what we can absolutely, I think, very safely infer from this is that the medical notes were just messed around with for very particular reasons as they were working up this this construction. But perhaps a lot of people get that already. I mean, I think, the emails are very powerful, but it's what they're saying about the notes in this particular regard, I think, is the foundational aspect of it. The foundational aspect of it is that they're messing around with the notes. And that's just one instance of it, and no doubt there'll be many others. And that's what they've done. At what stage they did it in that sequence? Or is it between the police and the CPS? Is it between the police and Evans? Is it between the Countess of Chester Hospital and the police? I think that's probably quite likely. That leg of it, that's where that line gets taken out. I would hope that all those experts, that team of experts, Mark McDonald, etc., would have had sight of these notes, hopefully. Is there any signifiers there? Are there any signifiers there that have been messed around with? I don't just mean like some Tipex over it or something. I'm assuming these are physical notes at this point in time. Well, they are physical notes because, well, certainly some of them, most of them are, because that's what the police end up with. Or are the police sent copies that have been run off the computer system? But I think there'll be physical notes there. There'll be physical notes there as well, I believe, at that point in time in 2015 and 2016. That's what Jairam's referring to when he's writing this in 2017. And they've been pissed around with, and somebody's just been editing those lines out that are unhelpful because they've got a different story now, haven't they? Once they had to change the story, this is the corruption at the heart of all of it. And I think the police know that. I think the police know, well, you better take that out of the notes. Somebody's done that, and I think they're all aware of it. I think they're all aware of it. This has been the kind of crack in the dam of it to allow the light through, or let the water out, as I'm mixing the metaphors. But it's the notes. It's the Nordsmen. It's the notes, isn't it? It's the notes. It's the notes that have been messed around with in all kinds of ways. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.